3. Thus our theme, which originally comprised only the limited problem of present-day civilization, broadens itself into a new philosophy, the philosophy of the future, so far as the metaphysically exhausted soil of the West can bear such, and in any case the only philosophy which is within the possibilities of the West European mind in its next stages. It expands into the conception of a morphology of world history, of the world as history, in contrast to the morphology of the world as nature that hitherto has been almost the only theme of philosophy. And it reviews once again the forms and movements of the world in their depths and final significance, but this time according to an entirely different ordering which groups them not in an ensemble picture inclusive of everything known, but in a picture of life, and presents them not as things become, but as things becoming. The world as history, conceived, viewed, and given form from out of its opposite, the world as nature, here is a new aspect of human existence on this earth. As yet, in spite of its immense significance, both practical and theoretical, this aspect has not been realized, still less presented. Some obscure inkling of it there may have been, a distant momentary glimpse there has often been, but no one has deliberately faced it and taken it in with all its implications. We have before us two possible ways in which man may inwardly possess and experience the world around him. With all rigour I distinguish, as to form not substance, the organic from the mechanical world impression, the content of images from that of laws, the picture and symbol from the formula and the system, the instantly actual from the constantly possible, the intents and purposes of imagination ordering according to plan from the intents and purposes of experience dissecting according to scheme. And, to mention even thus early an opposition that has never yet been noted in spite of its significance, the domain of chronological from that of mathematical number. Footnote. Kant's error, an error of very wide bearing which has not even yet been overcome, was first of all in bringing the outer and inner man into relation with the ideas of space and time by pure scheme, though the meanings of these are numerous and above all not unalterable. And secondly, in allying arithmetic with the one and geometry with the other in an utterly mistaken way. It is not between arithmetic and geometry, we must here anticipate a little, but between chronological and mathematical number that there is fundamental opposition. Arithmetic and geometry are both spatial mathematics, and in their higher regions they are no longer separable. Time reckoning, of which the plain man is capable of a perfectly clear understanding through his senses, answers the question when, not what or how many. End of footnote. Consequently, in a research such as that lying before us, there can be no question of taking spiritual political events, as they become visible day by day on the surface, at their face value, and arranging them on a scheme of causes or effects, and following them up in the obvious and intellectually easy directions. Such a pragmatic handling of history would be nothing but a piece of natural science in disguise, and for their part the supporters of the materialistic idea of history make no secret about it. It is their adversaries who largely fail to see the similarity of the two methods. What concerns us is not what the historical facts which appear at this or that time are, per se, but what they signify, what they point to by appearing. Present-day historians think they are doing a work of supererogation in bringing in religious and social, or still more art history details to illustrate the political sense of an epoch. But the decisive factor, decisive that is, insofar as visible history is the expression, sign, and embodiment of soul, they forget. I have not hitherto found one who has carefully considered the morphological relationship that inwardly binds together the expression forms of all branches of a culture, who has gone beyond politics to grasp the ultimate and fundamental ideas of Greeks, Arabians, Indians, and Westerners in mathematics, the meaning of their early ornamentation, the basic forms of their architecture, philosophies, dramas, and lyrics, their choice and development of great arts, the detail of their craftsmanship and choice of materials, let alone appreciated the decisive importance of these matters for the form problems of history. Who amongst them realizes that between the differential calculus and the dynastic principle of politics in the age of Louis XIV, between the classical city-state and the Euclidean geometry, between the space perspective of Western oil painting and the conquest of space by railroad, telephone, and long-range weapon, between contrapuntal music and credit economics, there are deep uniformities. Yet viewed from this morphological standpoint, even the humdrum facts of politics assume a symbolic and even a metaphysical character. And, what has perhaps been impossible hitherto, things such as the Egyptian administrative system, the classical coinage, analytical geometry, the check, the Suez Canal, the book printing of the Chinese, the Prussian army, and the Roman road engineering can, as symbols, be made uniformly understandable and appreciable. But at once the fact presents itself that as yet there exists no theory-enlightened art of historical treatment. What passes as such draws its methods almost exclusively from the domain of that science which alone has completely disciplined the methods of cognition, viz., physics. And thus we imagine ourselves to be carrying on historical research when we are really following out objective connections of cause and effect. It is a remarkable fact that the old-fashioned philosophy never imagined even the possibility of there being any other relation than this between the conscious human understanding and the world outside. Kant, who in his main work established the formal rules of cognition, took nature only as the object of reason's activity, and neither he himself nor anyone after him noted the reservation. Knowledge, for Kant, is mathematical knowledge. He deals with innate intuition forms and categories of the reason, but he never thinks of the wholly different mechanism by which historical impressions are apprehended. And Schopenhauer, who, significantly enough, retains but one of the Kantian categories, viz. Causality, speaks contemptuously of history. That there is, besides a necessity of cause and effect, which I may call the logic of space, another necessity, an organic necessity in life, that of destiny, the logic of time, is a fact of the deepest inward certainty, a fact which suffuses the whole of mythological religions and artistic thought, and constitutes the essence and kernel of all history, in contradistinction to nature, but is unapproachable through the cognition forms which the critique of pure reason investigates. This fact still awaits its theoretical formulation. As Galileo says in a famous passage of his Saggiatore, philosophy, as nature's great book, is written in mathematical language. We await today the philosopher who will tell us in what language history is written and how it is to be read. Footnote. One cannot but be sensible how little depth and power of abstraction has been associated with the treatment of, say, the Renaissance or the Great Migrations, as compared with what is obviously required for the theory of functions and theoretical optics. Judged by the standards of the physicist and the mathematician, the historian becomes careless as soon as he has assembled and ordered his material and passes on to interpretation. End of footnote. Mathematics and the principle of causality lead to a naturalistic, chronology and the idea of destiny to a historical ordering of the phenomenal world. Both orderings, each on its own account, cover the whole world. The difference is only in the eyes by which and through which this world is realized.